for those of you who know me, and I've been working in ELT for quite a long time as a teacher, teacher trainer, director of studies, and a director of a language academy. In my free time, I do research, and this is the result of research from my PhD work. We're going to answer 3 questions this morning in the talk. We're going to look at what teacher cognitions are, how they are related to teacher training, and what we can do about that, what we can take from it, what we can take back to our workplaces, whether we're teachers or whether we're teacher trainers. So defining cognitions, and it is a messy construct which I will get to. Can you just raise your hand if you're familiar with teacher cognitions, what it involves? Okay, I'll go into it in a little bit of detail then. Well then, it's nothing new. It's been here for 30, 40 years. It started in the 1960s when they were trying to decide on what teachers actually did. So they could box it up, give it out to everybody, and then everybody could do this, and our students would learn everything. But then, 1970s, cognitive psychologists said, we don't just do that. Well, they didn't say it quite like that, but we get what I mean. They started researching it and said that teachers actually make decisions. They think about what they're doing. It's a very mentally involved process. So with this, then, throughout the 1980s, they started looking at the decisions that teachers were making. So it was decisions about their subject knowledge, decisions about their practical knowledge, their pedagogical knowledge. So it became an awful lot of influences into trying to define what this actually was. They then looked at different contexts. So it was the teachers who had initially started out in their career, but also teachers in different contexts, whether it was primary, secondary, EFL, and so on. This is one of the most recent ones. So there's an awful lot to take in and an awful lot to consider. And the most difficult thing is that it's implicit. So if it's that messy and if it's that difficult to get at, then why bother? Well, if we understand it, we can help to improve practices. And in order to do that, we have to go back to the beginning, which would be improving our preparation programs for our teachers. Initial teachers, and then teachers who are also continuing their professional development. Another answer to the, well, why bother, is based, I'll give you 3 little quotes which are from my data. So, interesting. It was good that they felt relaxed enough to tell me that this is what they actually thought. So that was one thing. But it was a concern that people were coming to do courses, they were paying to do courses, and then after it, yeah, they went and did what they thought they were going to do anyway. And this is, again, this is data from my PhD research, which has been over the last 5 years. So it's not that this is from quite a while ago, this is very, very recent. Okay, so in terms of what cognitions are, that gives you a bit of an idea. And what I want to look at is sort of the roots of them quite quickly. Got a nice little tray with our roots on the bottom. And we're going to divide it up into 3 main areas. And the first one is apprenticeship of observation. And this was a term which was coined by Lorty, and it was back in 1975. And basically, it just refers to all of the years and all of the time that we spent in primary school, secondary school, watching how to be a teacher, or at least watching the teacher. So if you want to do many things, you have a time of apprenticeship, where you watch what the other person does and you learn from them. So we sit in the classroom, we watch what the teacher does, how they prepare, how they tell us things, how they get us to work, how they correct things, and we take all of this on board, okay? And that can influence us quite a bit, because then we decide, oh, I know that I want to be a teacher with this fully formed idea of what that means. So once we do that, we go to our teacher training courses. Okay? The contexts that I'm talking about are AFL contexts, so I'm talking about shorter courses at the minute. So again, we already know what we want to do. We go to the courses, and most of these courses are a one-size-fits-all course, even though we're dealing with people from very different contexts who need very different things for when they go back to their teaching context again. We also have courses that, yes, they should or are standardised, but they can have quite a different effect depending on perhaps the course tutor that you get or the trainer that you have. They might have their own cognitions and beliefs in terms of what they want to do in terms of giving support, how much they want the person to work on their own, the type of feedback that they give, how TP works. So there's an awful lot there that can be an influence on the initial teacher. And once we have our qualification, we go into the big bad world of teaching and stand in front of our classes for the first time. And we had a lovely explanation, or an example of this during the week when we were talking about it. Someone had trained up and completed their CELTA, passed it, they had their certificate, so they went into a class and stood in front of a group of 15 students who were 7 to 10-year-olds. And they're not prepared for that. That's a completely different thing. You're talking about teaching young learners. So there can be quite, I'd say quite a gap between the knowledge and the information and the skills that they have leading their teacher training course and then when they actually go into their context, depending on what it may be. So with that done, we're going to look at some of the difficulties in terms of courses and teacher training. And again, I just want you to bear in mind that we're talking about an EFL context. Okay. To the right, sorry, to your left, you can see what type of a learner I am. We have the shorter courses, which approximately will take about 4 weeks. Let's say there could be around 100 hours.